If you want to build a SQL database on your own from scratch, you'll need to know almost everything a computer science student learns over 3 or 4 years of bachelor's. It has operating system, it has networking, algorithms, data structures. It's a complicated system. As we talked about in this video, databases are one of the most important things which you should know about if you want to be a software engineer. A lot happens when you execute a query to a SQL database. But do we have to know about all those complexities? No, but if I want to be more accurate, yes we do. We should always have that bird's eye view on the database, even when we execute a simple select query. In this video, we're gonna talk about what happens when we create a table on a database and when we read data from it. Very abstract. It seems simple, right? I ask you the same question at the end of this video. I'm not gonna talk about any tool or any specific name, just concepts. Okay, I moved a bit fast, so let's slow down for a second. What is table? What is a select query? In any application, we need to remember things, so we have to store them somewhere. For example, imagine a user signs up with an email, with a username and a password. Now we could just dump this data somewhere, but working with that would be a mess. So instead, we organize it in a clean and a structured way, and that's what a table is. We create and modify these tables by talking to the database server, and we do that in a language called SQL. SQL isn't a programming language like Python or Java, but it's really powerful for managing data with lots of commands and options. In this video, in which we talked about Redis, I told you that Redis has few simple commands. Redis has 584 commands so far, but I told you that it is few because it's nothing compared to the number of statements which can make with SQL. SQL is the language, and any sentence in that language is called a query. Alright, now we know that what these two terms mean, let's move on to the next part. Hey guys, my name is Parsal, welcome to my channel. In this channel, I try to talk about my own experiences as a software engineer and computer science student, and as a part of my journey, I talk about software engineering and system design. So at first, when you want to create a table, you have to create a client in any language which you are working with. So you have to connect to the database server through network. In this video, we use two terms which may look similar, but they are different, and they are database and database server. After connecting, before creating a table, you have to go to a database. You have to either create one or go to a database which is already created. So in compared to Redis, which we talked about in this video, we have one layer around the data which is called database. And a database server may have multiple databases. Okay, so by now we got into database server, and after that we got to a database. Now we are defining our table. When we define our table, we define each column with a name and a type. At that point, database starts doing some work behind the scenes. It's not like Redis when values just get stored somewhere. The database thinks about how to store that data so the next developer could get to it as fast as possible. Here's the thing. Let's say we have a table which has, for example, 1 million records. If the database management system, or DBMS, wants to check them one by one, by one, by one, it will take a long time. So it stores data in a data structure, in a tree. So let's say we have a table by name and age. For example, here we have me with 25 years old, and one other, for example, Jessica, who are, for example, 19. Let's say here we want to find the youngest person, and here we have the worst case where Jessica, who is the youngest one, is at the end of the table. So one solution is to check it one by one. I mean, this is not it, and here we find it, I mean, not, no, and here, yes. Or we can store it in a tree, for example, like this, where this is the 21, and here we have, for example, 25, and here we have 32, and here we have 19. And now we find it easier. Such data structures are called index. Everywhere we have data structures, we have algorithms too. Now let's see what happens when we want to read some data from a database. But before that, we have a boring call to action. Guys, I really appreciate it if you support my channel. These videos of mine may seem easy to create, but they're not. I put a lot of time and energy on them, and your support gives me the energy to keep doing this. And yeah, when you read data from a table, when you select some data to read, that data is supposed to get to you once again through the network. A network always have two things, a latency and a limited capacity. So you have to keep it in mind. If this data is too big or you're gonna read it too often, a simple select query may not always be the best answer. You have to reduce some marginal costs here and there. But there's one other problem. In real-world applications, a lot of people, a lot of processes are updating the database. One of those shared values which are getting changed constantly might be the value which you're looking for. How do you read it in a way that ensures you're reading the latest version of the value? Imagine an online store with a product in stock. Let's say there's only one item left. Two people click buy at almost the same time. That stock count is a hard value and it's changing all the time. If it isn't handled properly, both users might think the item is still available, which makes us need concepts like transaction and isolation. The DBMS should handle this as well. It has to control access to the data while it's being updated, so other operations don't see an inconsistent state. And sometimes it gets even worse. Sometimes we have to define multiple clusters of the database. Multiple clusters which store the same data. How do we manage that conflict in multiple servers? In this case, one of the possible ideas is to make just one server responsible for updating the data. And after updating the data, it informs other clusters which are just responsible for reading. But even with all of this, you can't fully avoid reading outdated data. So if you're dealing with a sensitive data which changes very frequently, you need to be aware of it and handle consequences in your code outside the database. Now, let me ask you a question. Was it simple? I really love to plan for making a crash course on it. I mean, a video 4 hours long, but I'm not sure if I got the time to create such video or not. You know, crash courses take a lot of time. I mean, it is 4 hours, but it takes like, I think 40 hours, because right now creating a 20 minutes video takes like 20 hours from me. But I'm not sure. I should see what happens. Maybe I could do it in semester breaks, but right now I have a lot of things to manage. Databases are complex, and there are already tons of good content about it created by others which are definitely way better than mine. So that's why in this video I try to talk about it very abstract, and in the next videos of this playlist I talk about it in more details. If you have any questions, just drop it down in the comments. Be curious and keep learning.